This video will show you how to visually format an academic paper according to the guidelines specified in the publication manual of the American Psychological Association 7th edition. This style of formatting is sometimes referred to as APA formatting, APA style, or simply APA. Requirements of APA style are very specific and you're likely to find them tedious at first. But once you've formatted your first paper, you'll get used to the process. Adhering to APA style also ensures that you don't have to learn a new way of formatting papers for every class you take. A significant number of college classes and academic programs follow APA style throughout North America. This includes classes within the areas of business, engineering, education, social work, nursing, economics, and many of the natural sciences. It should be noted, however, that some classes will require you to use different formatting styles, and the common advice is to make sure you're clear about any professor's expectations for papers written for their classes. This video will not tell you everything you might need to know about APA style for any particular assignment. Our focus here is on the visual appearance of papers formatted according to APA style guidelines and some of the very basic guidelines common to all papers that require APA style, including page numbers, font type, font size, and line spacing. This video will not cover topics such as citing sources, parenthetical citation, and preparing the references page. I've covered some of these topics in separate videos, and you can get information about these more advanced aspects of APA style by visiting the TCC Library's website, which can be reached by going to TCC's homepage, then hovering over the tab that reads Academics, and then clicking on the link that reads Library Services. Once you're on the library's homepage, scroll down, click on Citation Guides, and then on APA Citations, and finally on APA Guide. It's strongly recommended that you use Microsoft Word Online to complete any paper that requires APA style formatting. Other word processing software such as Google Docs and Apple Pages don't include all of the capabilities you'll need to format an APA style paper correctly. The online version of Microsoft Word is recommended because it's the most updated version of the software. If you're a TCC student, you have free access to Microsoft Word Online, and we'll start by looking at how to access Microsoft Word Online. Later in the video, we'll also see how to submit a paper prepared in Microsoft Word Online through an assignment link in Canvas. To access Microsoft Word Online, start from the TCC homepage. The way this is set up at TCC is a little unusual, but it works just fine. You'll access Microsoft Word Online through your TCC email account. Start by scrolling down the TCC homepage and then click on Resources. On the next screen, scroll down and then click on Email. Next, you'll be prompted to log in using your TCC username and password, the same one you use to access Canvas, Workday, and other TCC software. Enter your username and then click Next. Then enter your password and click Sign In. Once you're in your TCC email inbox, look for the icon that looks like stacked boxes in the upper left corner and click on it. Then you'll see a list of Microsoft software that you have access to as a student. One of those is Microsoft Word. Click on Word. On the next screen, you'll notice that there's a template for an APA style paper. In my experience, there are often errors in these templates, and it's really not difficult to set it up on your own. So I recommend just choosing New Blank Document and then following the instructions I'm about to give you, which are all very quick and easy to follow. And if you follow them correctly, you'll never have to worry about the formatting being wrong. One of the things I like about Microsoft Word Online is that it saves your work automatically, so you never have to worry about losing your work. The next time you log in, you'll see your documents in a list. The first thing I recommend doing is giving your document a name so it's easier to find later. You can do that by clicking on the word Document at the top of the screen. Then type a name for your document in the box provided. I recommend choosing something that's easy to identify, like ENC 1101 Essay 1 or something like that. Then just click in the middle of the screen to start work on setting up the essay. The next thing I recommend doing is setting up the page numbers. APA style requires that your pages are numbered and that those page numbers appear in the upper right corner of every page. Microsoft Word will do this automatically for every page. To set up page numbering, click on the word Insert at the top of the page. Then click on Page Numbers. And then click on the icon showing a page number in the upper right corner. Next, you'll see a screen with this odd symbol in the upper right corner of the page. Don't change or delete that symbol. It will be replaced by the page number when you turn in the essay. Just click in the center of the screen, about where you see the red arrow now, to continue working on the paper. Next, you should set up the font type and size. APA style guidelines allow for different fonts to be used, but there's one that is very commonly used across college classes and programs, and the APA style guide does recommend using it. If you're a student enrolled in one of my classes, I do require this font to be used for every paper that you write. The font is Times New Roman, and you can select it by clicking on the drop-down menu that you see displayed on your screen now, and scrolling down the alphabetical list until you see the font. Then click on the font name. Next, you should select the font size. Here again, APA allows a few different font sizes, but 12-point font is the most common, and that's what I require. Click on the drop-down menu you see here, and then select 12. APA requires that everything in a paper be double-spaced, and that's the next thing you should set up. Do that by clicking on the line spacing icon, which you see the red arrow pointing to here, and then click on 2. APA style also requires that all papers have a title page, and the APA publication manual says that the title should be placed in the center of the first page. With your cursor still at the top of the page, click on the center icon shown here. Then APA style requires that the title of the paper appear either 3 or 4 lines down from the top of the page, so press Enter or Return on your keyboard either 3 or 4 times. The title also must be in bold type, so before typing your title, click on the bold icon. Then type your title. APA guidelines don't say much about the title except to keep it short and to the point and to make sure it reflects the content of your paper. Next, APA guidelines require that you skip one line and then type your first and last name. On the next line, it's required that you type what's called your institutional affiliation, by which they mean the name of the college you attend. That will probably feel a little strange when you're just writing a paper for your college class. There's a good reason for it, but I'll spare you the details here. Next, you'll type the course number and the course you're enrolled in, like ENC 1101, for example, followed by a colon, and then the actual title of the course, which is usually found at the top of the course syllabus, among other places. For ENC 1101 at TCC, the course title is just College Composition. Next, it's required that you put your professor's first and last name, including their title. Titles vary by professor and institution, but if you write professor, that pretty much always works. Finally, you'll type the date when the paper is due in the format that you see here, and you have to follow this kind of formatting exactly according to APA guidelines. APA guidelines require that the text of a student paper begin at the top of the second page, with a few exceptions, and those exceptions don't occur very often. Your professor will tell you if that's the case. To start the paper at the top of the second page, use the page break function. Click on Insert, and then on Page Break, and that will start a new page. APA also requires that you again type the title of your paper in bold type at the top of the second page. Then it's required that you start the text of your paper on the very next double-spaced line. You're also required to indent the first line of a paragraph by 1/2 inch, and Microsoft Word will do this automatically when you press the Tab key on your keyboard shown here. From here, you just type the paper, being careful not to change any of the settings. Make sure also to indent the first line of each new paragraph. When you reach the end of the text of your paper, the last thing you'll need to add is the references page. I won't cover the specifics of creating a references page in this video. That's a whole other topic on its own, and I've covered it in a separate video titled How to Create a References Page in APA Style. But there are a few things that should be mentioned here about the placement of the references page within a paper. One thing to know is that any academic paper that refers to any outside source of information, which pretty much covers any paper you might write in any college course, must contain a references page that includes the specific information about the sources that were used in writing the paper. The references page must begin on the first line of the last page of the paper. To start the references page, again use the page break function by clicking on Insert and then Page Break. At the top of the references page, type the word References in the center. Then on the very next double-spaced line, start the citation for the first source on your references list. Again, the information about how to do this references list is in a separate video. The last thing we'll talk about here is how to submit a paper that you've completed in Microsoft Word Online through Canvas. If you're a student in one of my classes, this is how I require students to turn in all of their papers. In order to turn in your paper through Canvas, you'll first need to download it from Microsoft Word Online to your computer. To do this, start by clicking on File at the top of the page. Then click on Save As. And then click on Download a Copy. None of these other download options will work for downloading a file that can then be submitted to Canvas, at least not the way I've set up my Canvas course. After you click on Download a Copy, you'll see this pop-up window. Click on Download. What you see at this point will depend on how your computer is set up, so you might need to get help if the next few steps don't make sense. I'm using the Firefox web browser on a computer running Windows 10, so this is what I see after I click Download. Regardless of how your computer is set up, you'll want to save the file to your Downloads folder. I can do that by clicking here. Then what I like to do is to drag the file from the Downloads folder, which I've shown here, onto the desktop. This makes the file easier to find when submitting it to Canvas. And there's the file on my desktop. Now we'll see the process of submitting this file through the designated assignment link in Canvas. Starting from the Canvas course homepage shown here, scroll down to the assignment link shown here. Then click on the assignment link, and you'll see this page. Click on the blue Submit Assignment button in the upper right corner. From here, it's pretty much like uploading a photo or file to any website. Click on Browse, then locate the file on your computer. This is why I like to put the file on the desktop. I click on the desktop, then on the file, which has that nice specific name I gave it earlier. And then it takes me back to this screen. Here, you'll need to click the box next to the Statement on Academic Honesty, and then finally you'll click Submit Assignment. A few final things to note. First, you can always resubmit an assignment, at least in the way I have my Canvas course set up, by clicking on this blue button here. And you can check to make sure everything looks right by clicking on the word Submission Details, and then on View Feedback in the center of this page. This will show you an exact copy of what I see when I go to grade your essay. It's also helpful to know that you can click on this icon to make this window larger and easier to see. And it's a good idea to scroll through and check your page numbers and indents, and the references page. That concludes this very short video on the basics of APA style formatting for academic papers. Please remember that the requirements that were described here are just the very basic requirements of APA formatting, and much more may be required for a particular assignment. These are, however, the ones that are common to just about any paper that requires APA style.